podcast, and I've got a great episode for you today. We're talking about how to manage pain, inflammation, and arthritis. Now, maybe not the sexiest topic, but I'll tell you what, even if you are a young person, you're going to have an injury, you're going to have a setback, and you will be old as me at some point. Tender age of 42 on the way here, and I'm going to give you strategies that help you do what most people really struggle with in fitness, right? What's the biggest obstacle for people outside of like what to do, not finding the time, the energy, not having the resources to invest, etc. People get hurt. People are in pain. They don't want to start. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to find the right movements that allow them not to have to be in pain or have inflammation, or they have conditions they have to work around. So the strategies I'll share today, 10 strategies to help you manage pain, inflammation, and arthritis. I'm going to go through all of that today. I think it'll really help you. And again, this will also help with any injuries, other physical setbacks, also help you avoid these issues, if not just accelerate recovery from your regular training. So this will be a great episode. You can post comments. I won't get to those till the end of the episode, so I cover the topics here. A like, share, subscribe is much appreciated. A couple housekeeping issues before I get into what I had. Also, community poll. I'm doing more polls. If you go to the community tab on my channel here, we did one basically on what areas of the body people have pain, inflammation, or arthritis. I'm going to talk about that poll to start, then I'll get into the 10 strategies to manage pain, inflammation, arthritis. Housekeeping issues. Number one, we're less than 2 weeks away from the 28-day Hangs Challenge. Now, this is going to be an amazing opportunity. Those that have back and shoulder pain, this Hangs program will help a ton. It really, really will. Like I can tell you there's been a handful of things over the course of my fitness journey, growing up as a fat kid and an athlete, and then obviously doing this for a living for 20 plus years, that have really allowed me to stay in the game. And the biggest return on investment, so to speak, daily hangs. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to fit into your lifestyle. A simple, $25 to $50 door pull-up bar at home, take it to an office. I'll talk about other setups and modifications as well. But grip strength, it's one of the biggest indicators of whether or not you'll live, how long you'll live, not whether or not you'll live. But, and again, dealing with a lot of the stiffness and tightness, the compression of the day. We can offset those compressions, that flex, by getting into that, those hang positions. And again, it's going to be an amazing program. It's daily variation, weekly progression, beginner regressions and modifications. All you need is access to some sort of pull-up bar and ideally some row bars, because we'll actually start the program. The row is that horizontal pull action, or that movement pattern is the gateway to the pull-up. Like the push-up is the gateway to the dip. It's a more advanced. The vertical positions are more advanced. They're more extreme joint angles, and they lay a foundation. Also great to build the glutes and the hamstrings and the entire backside when you're in that kind of bridged hang positioning. And we'll talk about all of this, but you're gonna want to do this challenge. It's a minimum 5 to 10 minutes commitment per day, and I will show you how to build a winning habit for the rest of your life. We're talking about true longevity beyond the fact you're gonna build muscle all over your upper body. You're gonna get that Dorito V-taper. Maybe not necessarily in just 28 days. You'll push towards that, but you'll lay that foundation in terms of the grip strength, the scapular mobility and stability of the shoulder blades. That's really the key to all of this. The posture benefits, all that good stuff. And again, questions, if you're coming through now, I'll answer those towards the end of the episode. So that's coming up. Our YouTube memberships. The Hanks Challenge starts 9/2/24. So September 2nd, September 1st is the official launch date of our memberships, but actually it's active already now. We already have some people who have joined, which is fantastic. I can't thank you enough for your support in helping us, keep the lights on. And 3 levels of membership based on how you want to get involved. Our VIPs are going to get bonus ad-free members content, training plans or challenges like the 28-day Hanks Challenge. And there might be more of a challenge 1 month versus a training plan the next. Challenge is more quarterly. And then also, other exclusive perks you can check out there. Just click the join button or check out the link in the description of this video as well. So it's going to be fantastic, and it really feeds this episode as well. I'm also going to have an episode coming up here, the top 10 reasons to hang every day. I've been advocating this for over a decade, so it's not necessarily a new thing, but I've really got an awesome program for you guys that I think is going to meet you right where you're at. And there's that piece of it as well. So you can join now or wait till 9/1, but I've already got some videos in there. Again, I think one of the biggest perks is really ad-free stuff, and then again, the custom programming. Finally, people ask about supplements. Our protein coffee blend, Gorilla Corn style here. So synthesis. Now, if you have issues with dairy, you're not gonna like this, but it's a whey-in casein blend, a mix of fast and slow absorbing protein. It's got, each scoop is 30 grams of complete protein, which is the minimum dose you need to get that muscle protein synthesis switch flipped, all right? And it's a nice clean vanilla flavor, smooth, no aftertaste, and it's stevia sweetened. So again, it's just a great powder. And then also our coffee for learning and cognition. If you look at this as a coffee, it's way overpriced, but that's not really what this is. Yes, it's a great dark espresso roast, but it's got additives, basically BDNF. It's a neural protein which helps repair neurons. It's good for brain health, again, memory, cognition, very important as you age, but also slowing down that aging process up here. You know, if you find yourself a little bit slow, lethargic, it's a real productivity booster to start the day. I like about 3 cups in the morning to kick off my workday here. But link in description to check out the Gorilla Corn bundle. Limited amounts of that. We only had 100 total made. I wanted to see if you guys dig it or not, and then if you do, we'll keep it going. If not, I do love the product, and it does help us. You know, I get a cut, so I appreciate the support there. So thanks to those jumping in live. Let's get into this because, you know, before I share the poll results, it was interesting to see how it broke down. It's also a personal thing for me as well. I have had, and again, you're hearing some of this stuff again. I don't mean to be a broken record, but every day we do this, someone new comes in. So I've got to talk to people like they've never been here before in some ways. I had 4 knee surgeries on both, total, 2 on each knee by the time I was 22, and arthritis in both knees at that young of an age, from the wear and tear and injuries I had from powerlifting, football, and also being, you know, overweight. That takes its toll. We'll talk about how that affects you long term with this stuff. But you know, I was told at the time, like, you can't squat, you can't bend the knee, just like there's no running. Like I thought I was done, and I was in such pain and limitation at the time. I could deadlift 500 pounds because that didn't bother my knee. It's more of a hinging action, more back, glute, hamstring. But anything that really involved a lot of knee bending, a more upright trunk position, squatting, lunging, you know, those types of things. I couldn't do a bodyweight split squat or squat without like shooting pain. It was bad. And it created a whole level of compensations that I'm managing today. And I've actually was able to kind of go and build up to a lot of incredible feats, not being able to lunge without pain, a single rep to lunging for an hour straight, you know, building up to some pretty awesome like squat strength and endurance standards as well. Now, the thing about this type of stuff, what's so sinister is the arthritis. Even I've done all these good things, all the lifestyle changes, the dietary modifications, the exercise adjustments. I mean, it's been holistic, and we're going to talk about all these strategies today. I've got 10 of them for you, some awesome takeaways. At the turn of this year, the arthritis now, it's affecting me differently at 41 than it did at 21. And the things that I found a way to work around to it, even some of those were bothering me to the point where, I mean, to start the year, I swelled up my knee for a month. I could not get the inflammation out of my knee. And even like the stuff that I always knew I could do, like isometric holds, like when in doubt, I could hold a squat and still work the muscles. Again, not as big of a muscle gain stimulus, not as sexy or fun to do, but still targeted. But the inflammation was so severe, I couldn't even isometrically hold because that was actually making the inflammation worse. So, and again, questions coming in, I'm going to answer those at the end if I have time. This is a focused topic. I will eventually, we do some where I just come in and just straight Q&A. This is topical. And if I can't if you leave now, you can always come back and watch a replay. I'll try to get to questions at the end. So I've had to completely adjust the way I train. There's been workouts I wanted to shoot for you guys this year. I just have not been, again, like the first 6 months, there wasn't a week of the year where I didn't have, my knee didn't blow up on my left knee, because now I've got bone spurs. Now the bone's exposed, and that's where it gets really things are grinding and rubbing, and now the inflammation was just kind of out of control. So it's been an acceptance journey. That's like the first thing with this that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You have to be understanding, and you got to it's going to change how you do things. And there are going to be some things that unfortunately are going to be behind you. And that sucks, man. Like, especially when you've accomplished a lot with your body, if you're an athlete or you're just like a gym veteran and you did some amazing things back in the day, right? And you're judging yourself on what you can do now versus then, but you're dealing with a different body. And that's tough, man. It's brutal. I mean, for me not to be able to do my job some days, it's like an athlete on the bench, injured reserve. It sucks. It's not. I could always film for you guys, even if there was some pain, whatever. But like the inflammation is almost worse than the pain, because once the joint's inflamed, you are now not only limited range of motion, it decreases the muscle activation all around that joint, and you're now going to be more prone to injury and inflammation. It's almost like a cancer, if you will. I don't mean to equate cancer, but it is like it's so sinister and insidious in that nature. So I want you to understand it's a journey in this. A lot of this is understanding that you're going to kind of have, in the beginning, it's going to be like you have painful days and the less painful days. Not necessarily good days, but it's all relative, right? And we just try to, over time, give you more, find some good days, and then decrease the frequency of the bad days, and lengthen the times between, the setbacks. Those are going to happen. If you have arthritis, it's a condition, right? This is a degenerative condition, and the inflammation continues to wear down the joints. So I just want you to understand this is not a quick fix. This is also going to be an individual journey, because as I go through this poll right now, everyone's got different shit going on. We've all had different lifestyles and injury histories. So you're going to have to take the time to learn about the condition. And then, I try to share videos here. And what I'll do in the community poll section here too, people, where they comment and stuff, I'll whatever links I have of stuff that's already up in the channel, I'll direct you to. And then this will also inform me on what maybe new content to make on this topic. But you've got to be willing to do the work. When I went to the doctor recently to get some x-rays and just see where I was at, like, because the left knee, again, I was scared. Like, can I do this job? And if not, like, how long do I have to do this job? Because it was really limiting me. It's scary. This is how I make a living. Beyond the fact, it's what helps me maintain my mental health, not just physical. And you go to the doctor, and nice guy, but like, this guy, I know way more about this guy. He's a doctor, went to all this schooling, et cetera, and he deals with knee pain all day. He's like almost a knee specialist. And I'm like, he had no answers for me beyond like, you're gonna have to get these replaced at some point. You want to push it off as far as you can. I can get you a physical therapy recommendation, but like, no strategies. I mean, I know what to do for it. At the same time too, I'm dealing with a damaged goods. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be a new knee until I get a new knee. And, part of the issue with I was like, do I just get this replaced now? I'm young enough where I can recover fast enough from it. I actually know someone, I know this guy, Dr. Kelly Surratt, the Supple Leopard. He got a full knee replacement. He's sprinting. He's doing the deep squatting, like no limitations from what you can see. The thing about it is if you get it done too early, you're going to have to get it redone again. And that's tough, right? Because now you're replacing a replacement. So it's one of those things where each version of it can be more challenging. And also I don't have the health insurance, nor can I afford to do it out of pocket. And they won't cover it because I'm not really dealing with as much pain as the inflammation and limitations of movement. So again, what long way of getting to I can't depend on a doctor to help me out. I've got to take ownership of my body. I've got to learn all I can about it, as I've always done with the setbacks I've had here. I learn, I share. You take what you want, leave the rest. So, but it's an acceptance journey, and you're going to have some bad days. And I know when I can't exercise, I get very depressed. My mood just hits the tank. And so going through this, even though I can do other things, and we'll talk about how you have to find a way to focus on what you can do, not what you can't, it's still, I understand, it's depressing. So we've got to find a way to work through that. Here, the poll. So we had 61 people vote on this. 26% of people had a knee issue, 26% shoulders, 26% spine. Now, and the 18% other, 3% none. God bless I'm jealous. I envy the 3% with no pain. But hopefully you can stay in that category for as long as possible. But it's what I would think. And I have programs here for you, by the way. Bulletproof knees, bulletproof back, bulletproof shoulders. It's been recently posted too, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 20-minute instructional and follow-along workouts that really help just really address the issues around that joint for these issues. So be sure to check those out. Incredible resource here on YouTube. So check those out. I'll pop links as well later. But that's really the common areas here. And, obviously the shoulder, again, you got to do the Hanks challenge. This is going to help tremendously with that. The knees, lower body stuff is particularly bad, right? Because, now it's going to affect your not just like mobility, joint mobility, but like actual mobility. Can you move around? Most of the cardiovascular athletic activities are on your feet. And when you have a bad knee, a bad wheel, you're limited in those regards. So if I would rank them, but nothing's worse than the spine. I've had my share of shoulder injuries, tendonitis, stuff like that. When I was younger, they've been good, knock on wood so far. Obviously, brutal knee issues. And then about a year ago, I really hurt my lower back filming a video. It was a 1-year rehabilitation process. I just shared a video, by the way, on that, of my daily inversion. Started with an inversion table, progressive gravity boots recently, and that's been a game changer for me as well. It's also helped me with the inflammation, because when you're upside down, you're draining inflammation, particularly in the lower body. And we'll talk about those strategies later as well. So we had some comments about people dealing with Achilles tendonitis, ankles and feet. Someone said all of the above, Matthew 1904. I'm sorry to hear that. Time you might maybe get a body replacement. Again, today's stuff will help you a ton. Sciatica, knee, wrist, sciatica. So again, I'll send some links individually in the comments section. If you want to jump in on the community poll as well, or post your individual problem, again, go to the community tab and you'll see it as one of the more recent things. So we've got that covered. But yeah, shoulders, knees, and spine. Those are really the key areas. But the spine, when you have spinal pain, I don't care whether it's neck or lumbar, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. And, that's when we not only lose our conditioning, our strength, but we gain body fat, which makes the inflammation worse, right? Because we're wearing down our joints more with just the load bearing. And fat is in itself an inflammatory organ in the body. It actually functions that way. It creates a cascade of effects, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and ultimately has a desire to create more fat within the body. It's a brutal thing. Lowers your metabolism, all that stuff. So let's start with number one was an acceptance journey. Okay, this if you have arthritis, and again, part of what I'm trying to go the route with here is I want, as much as possible, you have to make your own choices and with your doctor and your body. But I like going the route of avoiding pills as much as possible. And we have in this country, in particular, the US, the States, pain epidemic. Big pharma, obviously there's a lot of sinister stuff that has gone on there. You've seen documentaries and stuff like that. And people always want to push pills on you because and people run down, they're worn out, they're burnt out. Medical professionals don't have the support they need to give us what they need. And obviously, that's not my specialty, but you and I both know you can't depend on these people to give you everything you need here to get the results you're looking for. When I was dealing with this stuff as a college football player, I was popping like 10 pain pills, anti-inflammatories a day. It can destroy the inside of your body. It's a slippery slope because you get a tolerance and you keep pushing that dosage up and up and up, and you're not fixing the root of the problem, right? The mobility, stability, and balance issues around that joint that are kind of causing the issue. Now, and again, if you've got a degenerative joint disorder like arthritis, you've got this. So now it's with you. It's a passenger in the journey through life. It's going to be with you forever. So you've got to learn how to manage your new friend. And you can treat him as an enemy, or you can just try to find a way to be a friend with this person because he's here, she's here to stay. So that acceptance journey. The second point of managing pain, inflammation, arthritis is you've got to start looking less at this as like the classic way of body, but like which muscles or body parts am I working? No, I've actually got to train the joint now. And you've got to go a corrective exercise route with this stuff. And I've done that, by the way, for you with the Bulletproof series, knees, back, shoulders, the three most common areas based in the poll, and what people mostly deal with in terms of these areas to work on. But you've got to, what's the mobility side of it, right? Can the joint, what are the actions of the joint, right? And then can I move through a full range of motion in those actions pain-free? So that's a range of motion thing. Now stability. Stability means, can I stabilize at different joint angles, right? So and that's what's crazy too about a lot of this. Like, for example, it's very individual, and it's all individual strength and weaknesses in terms of how you get here. Typically, the bottom of the squat is the most challenging, right? I mean, that's the point people can't get up from, and it's tough for people to even get down there. I've got no problem at the bottom of a squat. Where I have my most pain in the knee, again, the elbow's the hinge joint. So treat this as my knee. It's like basically the slightest of bends, going from extended to slightly flexed. This is where that terminal extension, if you will, that's where it's most problematic for me, which is just like, it's really humbling because it's not a strength issue for me. It's literally it's a joint degradation damage thing. Again, I tore it up. I blew out a lot of cartilage and meniscus, tore ligaments. I mean, like, it was a nightmare. They pulled out 30 pieces during one of the surgeries I had. So again, it's a damaged joint. And with the damage of that joint, the swelling, what it's caused is the lower quads, the VMO in particular, atrophied. The patella itself is not tracking properly. So, that's what's causing the chronic inflammation. And luckily, I'm not in too much pain now. That's great. But sometimes, again, like I said, what's worse, pain or inflammation? Sometimes what was inflaming it, I was having no pain. There was no pain, but the movement was causing inflammation, especially repetitively. So we'll talk about that too. But so again, I'm fine, like fully flexed, but it's the initial flexion. Like, I was going into the pool and flutter kicking, and that actually caused some inflammation. Like the pool, a simple flutter kick that a baby can do. So that's part of it too. So you got to identify the specific joint angles that you have to create tension around. And then balance, not just like, can you balance on one arm or one leg? Is there balance around the joint in terms of the muscles, right? A lot of people that have rounded spine, shoulder, they've got really dominant chest, anterior shoulder, and very weak upper mid back, right? So when those are out of whack, the muscles will literally pull the joints out of position. I had someone, I posted a video for you guys about like how to improve posture. Or I said, this exercise will improve posture. And someone's like, this is bullshit. The only thing that can improve posture is actually using good posture, which is like, my initial response to that is like, I wanted to give them the dumbest motherfucker of the week award. I know what you mean, but it's absolutely not true. If you have muscular imbalances, the muscles will dictate your joint positioning. When the joints are not properly positioned, now you're at the risk of both chronic and acute injuries, inflammation, pain. So that's a big part of it as well. So it might mean doing 2 to 3 times as much back work or pulling work as pushing work. And the same things apply to areas like the lower body, right? If you have really weak hip flexors compared to your glutes, I mean, the glutes are always going to be stronger than the hip flexors, but if the hip flexors are so weak, you're going to have lower back pain. If you're, again, weak quads can cause knee pain, but also if your hamstrings are so underdeveloped compared to your quads, now you're going to be open up to knee pain as well. So there's got to be balance in the muscles around the joint, the proper proportions. That's where bodybuilding actually, I think, is so beneficial, is that, again, it's like, as Arnold used to say, you can sculpt. It's like a sculptor, putting clay in different areas of the body it wants to grow and define. You've got the ability and to your own genetic limitations and knowledge of training to, prioritize more muscle in some areas versus others based on where you're currently at. And you have to kind of do that assessment of your body. Now, if it's just the calves, that's the one area where it's like, that's, you might want to pray on that. Those are tough areas to grow. But you've got to take a joint training approach. Not that you have to get rid of all of the stuff you do or currently doing, but at least maybe dedicate days to joint training, maybe as active recovery, or maybe these are now things in the warm-ups and cool-downs you've never done before. Activation sequences, some self-massage, stuff like that. Starting to bookend your main workouts with more of this stuff again, especially if it's not, you're younger or it's not a serious deal right now. You want to avoid getting to this point as best you can. The third thing is you got to identify the triggers. And this is not just like in terms of what movements cause the pain or inflammation, but what foods, how much of those foods, right? So you'll find when you have arthritis and inflammatory disorder, I've had to clean up my eating more. Like I used to want to, beyond just getting older, I can't even eat as much as I used to. I noticed more pain, stiffness, inflammation the day after a cheat meal. So especially, and not just the amounts of the foods. Again, it's not just the food itself; it's the actual portion, right? We all have a tipping point where, like for example, my wife, if she has more than 4 ounces of meat, it can cause her some digestive issues. But anything under 4, and it's actually a good thing for her. It helps her stay full. She's craving it. So same thing with like pizza, right? I might identify 3 slices of thin crust, or maybe even a whole thin crust. I don't know. I mean, Uncle Baby I won a pizza eating contest in college. Extra large cheese. I think it was like pan style. 7 minutes, 32 seconds. It was a dorm room challenge. So, and I've thrown back the amounts of food I put through my body. I've eaten enough for a whole lifetime already by the age of 42. But now if I go thick crust, deep dish, and I go like more than a couple slices there the next day. In fact, I shared this on a previous episode a couple years back. Little Caesars had like this, it's the extra most bestest pepperoni extravaganza or something. And I had it, I think I had pretty much the whole pie. The next day, I would look like the Michelin Man. I looked like I was back in college as a defensive lineman at 275. And I knew it was troublesome because I woke up, I came out of the bathroom, I was like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Because when my face blows up, like the eyes got really small. I'm like, what is happening? And then my wife comes around the corner and she goes, oh, wow. So obviously that's not just going to inflame my face and ruin aesthetics, right? You're going to feel stiffness, pain, inflammation in the joints that you have problems with. It's such a direct correlation. But it's not just what you eat, it's also what's going on in your life. Stress is the trigger to almost all ills in life. Mental health, physical health, joint health. And you'll start to notice, like during high periods of stress, you've got to maybe adjust your training a bit, right? Because typically, high periods of stress, you'll feel your joints start talking to you. And this is just a fact, you're more prone to injury during high periods of stress. So maybe you have to say, okay, not as much high intensity right now in my life, more lower intensity active recovery stuff just to maintain so that I'm not overwhelming my system with even more stress. Because bombing the body with high intensity exercise when you're really stressed out never helps. I don't care how young you are and how gifted your recovery is. So, and then there's, in terms of the exercise triggers, like I have to identify which movements are going to cause me any sort of pain and or inflammation or both. So once you know that, so those are things I have to, if I'm going to do them, it's got to be like very low load, slow controlled tempo, maybe even self-assisted, or in the pool itself, so that I can go to, the biggest thing you don't want to lose is range of motion. Because once the range of motion is gone, you can't build strength on top of restricted range of motion. You can't do it. But if I can maintain the range of motion during a period of pain and or inflammation, then I can always reintroduce the strength, and the strength comes back very quickly, especially if you're got a lot of history. The muscle memory comes back pretty quick. But the mistakes I've made in rehabilitation in the past is I've been wanting to get the loads back up so fast, you start to shortchange range of motion, technique, form. Again, that's where your ego comes in ahead of you, right? And that's where it really gets you into trouble. So you got to kind of go away from that a bit. What movements cause the pain, inflammation? What foods and or amounts of those foods? Not that you stop eating stuff altogether. And by the way, number 9, I'm going to talk about the foods you want to eat to fight inflammation and the foods you want to avoid that cause inflammation. So stay tuned for that. And then also just you got to identify triggers in life, not just like unforeseen, but like if you know a big project is coming up at work and or there's some real big family commitments coming up, you got to proactively plan ahead for, okay, A lot of travel. Travel in and of itself is going to open up more injury because the inflammation of being seated, congested, flex rounded positions, plane, train, car. So you need to start understanding how that's going to impact the pain inflammation as well. And when I travel, if I know I'm going to be like doing a big drive, I never go hard on my legs the day before, morning of, because I'm going to be sitting on muscle damage, and that's just going to inflame, and it's going to feel awful when I get out of the car. So this is what I'm saying. You've got to start planning around the joint, not just weekly, but monthly, and also just in terms of how it interacts with your lifestyle. So that was number 3, identifying the triggers. What exercises, it was, again, it's crazy too, because like some movements that are easy for you, like a small little step up, like a very limited step up from full extension of the leg to just slightly bent. That's the hardest exercise for me right now, period. Like the amount of focus that's required for me to, get the patella tracking the right way. I'm going to be sharing stuff like this too, my current knee rehab. And it's like, how is this like this? This is anyone can do this. The most overweight, inactive person could do this, no problem in some cases. But for me, it's so much harder for me to do that than get into it. I could hold a deep split squat or do really challenging lunges and stuff like that. But again, I'm just saying you've got to identify the triggers. So number 4, you've got to optimize your natural body weight. I like to say find your fighting weight, right? Part of what I've had to do with this, because of years of compensation and maybe going more mirror muscles and taking shortcuts in my training to more look good versus, how is this going to impact me in my 40s? And I did this pretty intelligently as far as I'm concerned, especially compared to how idiotic I was about it early on in my life, where I would just constantly work through pain and inflammation just because I thought it made me a strong person and, all this bullshit. But I had to say, you know what? I'm going to actually have to let some areas of the body atrophy a bit. I'm going to have to bring my body weight down from kind of heavyweight to light heavyweight, because the extra 20 pounds, like being 225, is not helping my knees right now. It's not, like, because I got to still move and burn calories and keep my weight, my body fat down. And it's also, as I like to do a lot of body weight exercise, that extra 20 pounds is going to take more of a toll on the joints. And but by the way, I'm a big fan of weight vest stuff, being able to train heavy so you can play light and live light. But it does, like, we're talking spine and knees in particular. 5 pounds, taking off 5 pounds of body fat is huge to helping the joint long term, and even in the short term, it will make a big difference. And what I mean by natural body weight, it's like what's an easy body weight for you to maintain that like we're relatively lean at, right? So and what I found is, as long as I eat, I have a midday shake and a meal at night. I really wish I should eat more calories, but I don't, because I actually make some room for the weekend. And right now I need to stay as light as possible for my rehabilitation. But, and I might want to come up a little bit at some point and add some more size and mass. That can always be done. But I found that, like, I can pretty much be about 200, 205 without having to, like, do too much. I don't have to kill myself in the gym. I don't have to, like, I also, like, it's easy diet-wise. Like, it's affordable. It's less than $100 of groceries a week. Minimal supplementation. That's easy. And I can live at this. I feel good. I can do my job. I could be bigger and stronger and more muscular. But in terms of what people are looking for, I'm presenting, I think, a pretty healthy, lean, athletic look, especially for someone about to be good. But anything higher than that was problematic. Like when I was like 265, 270, eating 6 to 8 times a day, so strong, but really no muscle definition. A little bit of top ab, the top 2. But you just feel lazy, lethargic, and it's not conducive to holistic fitness. It was just about being strong and big because I was a lineman, right? So you've got to identify it for yourself. And again, it might not be what you're like. So a lot of people want to, not a lot of people, but some people want to get bigger and add size. But again, can you maintain that long term? are you willing to eat, sometimes 6 to 8 times a day? You've got to, I would say at least look reducing 5 pounds of body fat. That's going to make a huge difference. 10 plus, especially if there's that amount of body fat to lose, that'll help a ton with overall body inflammation, but also specifically any joint you're having problems with, especially when we're talking about load-bearing stuff. That's going to affect, your walking and sort of cardiovascular activities. So just identify that. Again, it's a weight. Like, here's an example. I've shared this before. Roy Jones Jr., famous boxer, one of the all-time greats, because he was able to be a champion in I think 5 divisions. But as he got and he found himself in the wrong weight class, at that point, now the strength of some of these guys was tough for him. And then he would go I'm going to fight over 200 pounds, I'm going to come down to 175. And then cutting all that weight, he found himself weaker and slower from that cut because it wasn't a natural weight for him to be at. And ultimately, it led to the end of his career. He got caught in one fight, and he got caught again by the same guy in the rematch. And that was kind of the end of the guy that no one could hit. And it was so fast, he could hit you with a hook as fast as other people hit you with a jab. Hit you with a round punch faster than a straight. I mean, really unreal. So if it takes too much work to be a certain weight, whether it's you having to be trying to be lean or trying to be big, it's probably not a good idea anyway. But specifically when we're talking about trying to find the joint health. And by the way, getting too lean also can cause pain and inflammation because you can get too dehydrated and you can lose some fat in the joint itself that helps with lubrication and just cushioning. So it's not necessarily, you don't want to lose so much weight and you want to find that healthy weight for you that you can maintain without it being a full-time job to do so. Number 5, you've got to find for you at least one, but ideally a handful of low-impact cardio and aerobic activities. The lower to moderate intensity stuff is really what can help you stay in the game, right? You can do some of this stuff even when the joint's inflamed. And it also, by the way, aerobic stuff has gotten a bad connotation because we went through a period of time where it's got to be intervals, only sprints. It's well, I'm sorry, I can't do sprinting style exercise when I've got an inflamed joint. I mean, even though it's going to activate hormones and stuff like that, it's going to cause more inflammation. It's certainly not going to decrease inflammation. But what aerobic exercise does, it's oxidative, and it helps create full body circulation. And it's that full body circulation which actually helps you get rid of the inflammation in the joint. Actively, it's active recovery. And it's also, and that's going to help you with your body weight maintenance, staying lean and mean. And it also helps with joint fortification, and cardiovascular health becomes more important over 40 as well. It really does. This is the decade where people God forbid, there's just spontaneous stroke, heart attack types of things. A lot of that is genetic, but a lot of that also has to do with how good your cardiovascular health is and how efficient you are using oxygen and pumping blood throughout the whole body, especially when we have very sedentary activities where we sit all day. The other piece of that has got to be what is low impact, right? So my favorite styles are anything in the pool, because the pool in and of itself, it's a compression environment. It's like wearing full body compression, but in the water. So that helps with full body anti-inflammation, and it's unloaded, it's assisted, and you get continuous fluid resistance. So it's just a recovery-based medium. And by the way, it doesn't have to be just a pool. There are $500 hot tubs. You can get, you plug into the wall and it heats that small body of water, where that was actually a big part of my lower back rehabilitation. I invested in one of those wave spas, and I would do all my seated and kneeling stretches in that hot water, basically hot tub yoga. I've got a video on that. Just search hot tub yoga on my channel. You'll see a 20-minute deep dive on it. And it helped my knees a lot too. I could work on my deep squat in there. But obviously going into a full body pool, you can do more range of motions. It's just a bigger environment. Even swimming itself is a great low impact exercise activity at the right volume. So, but sled, I have an actual outdoor sled I use. And also I do a lot of backward sledding for my knees, because that's actually working on the terminal knee extension at high repetition to build up my lower quads, fortify the knees, and then keep me lean. It doesn't really stress the knees too much at all, as long as you build up to it. Boxing, heavy bag work. Because my issues are mainly the knees, it's a very low impact, like high intensity cardio exercise. I can go all out on the heavy bag and it rarely ever bothers my knees. And I can also do it on days the knees are inflamed. Maybe I'm more stationary those days and I'm not bending the knees as much. Or I can also, on those days, I can do my boxing in the water. So again, you've got to have at least a plan B and then ideally a C, a D, an E, and an F. Because some days you don't feel like doing your plan B and you need to know what else you can do there too. But weighted walking or rucking, that's, so running right now, it's not an option. Over 200 pounds, arthritis in both knees. I'd like to get back to that at some point in moderation because I do enjoy, especially I'd like to get back into sprinting at some point if possible. But I can go all out on a sled because the sled is concentric only. It doesn't have the deceleration landing forces that running does. The moment I stop pushing the sled, it stops. So it's kind of auto-regulated, but I'm still working all my lower body joints, ankle, knee, hip. It's also involving the upper body to push or pull it too. So it's full body strength, cardio, breathing workout. But if you go to a gym, maybe it's a Stairmaster, maybe it's your arc or elliptical trainer. You've got to find a way to get that in without pain. And if you have a lower body injury, I shared recently too, upper body ergs. These are like really expensive machines at some gyms or rehabilitation centers. You can do it in the water too. So and that's why I really recommend checking out the pool workout hydrotherapy stuff, because whatever the joint is, some days the elbow doesn't feel good and I can't do my dumbbell curls, extensions. I can go in the pool and do them with water bells. And it feels great on the joint and I can still blow up and pump the muscles. So again, you've got to develop these and get these into place. Number 6, TUT, time under tension resistance training. And this is like one of my major principles. This is like the big gorilla corn principle, right? How do I make lightweight feel heavy? It's initially like you feel like embarrassed, like I used to be able to push this amount of weight and now I'm like, I used to be able to do 315 on the bench, but now I'm using the bar. I had to actually go through that process before when I got shoulder tendonitis, because you got to literally start from ground zero. It sucks. And especially when you're working out with your friends and they give you shit about it. But the reality is, and that's why I think going the body weight training route is so effective, because like with weight, like it's kind of something about, there's like a mental thing with it. Like when you use a light weight, it feels just, if you're not there yet mentally where you're like okay with using, like I'll use a 2.5 to 5 pound dumbbell sometimes. And I would never have done that when I was 20. I just couldn't do it. I wasn't willing to go there at that point, even if I needed it. But with the body weight stuff, it's your body. So it's like, it's almost easier to do easier stuff with your body weight or do self-assisted stuff or regressions with your body weight. Not that people don't feel the type of way about having to do push-ups on the knees sometimes, but you've got to do what you need to do for the situation and put your blinders on with this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a blinders scenario. You can't worry about what you used to do, what your peers are doing, and you might not be able to train with your training partner anymore, especially if they're not supporting the rehabilitation process. It is a bit of an individual journey that way, but what I mean by time under tension is 10 reps, right? So if you're doing a 10 rep set, time how long you've been doing those sets take. Like how long are those taking? Typically those are 20 to 30 seconds or less for a lot of people. When you have a joint issue, that's going to be more prone to giving you pain, inflammation, especially if you add too much weight. So instead of doing, I'll use you have shoulder pain, right? And let's say you've been used to using 50s on the chest presses. Okay, I know it sucks, but let's use 25s. And now, let's take those same 10 reps and let's make that last 2 minutes. Get it all the way up to the top, slowly lower all the way down. And again, when you go heavy weights, I see this all the time in the gym. Someone showing off how much they're chest pressing, the weight's only coming to here. No. Coming here with 50s, you get better gains here, full stretch, shoulder blades pulled down and back, hugging the bench or ball, wherever you're on, with 25s. And especially when I can extend the time under tension. And if you're doing work sets where the goal, this is a chest day, and you're not feeling your chest work, You can still, yes, you can still gain strength and size by just like using your whole body to bench press. But I've made the most gains I may have been the strongest ever when I was just doing bench press, heavy. But the chest really started to grow when I would feel it during the movements. I really controlled the lowering portion. I'd hold the end range and that stretch position. And sometimes I come up fast to get fast twitch. Sometimes I come even slow, so I feel the muscle fibers activate throughout the whole range of motion. And again, not that maybe it's not like you do a heavy set and then I'm gonna at least warm up and cool down. Back off set, drop set, light, slow, extended time under tension. That's the key to joint training, because like I mentioned too, there's some joint angles that are problematic. Like with my left knee, I get to a point at a certain level, like quarter bend, where if like I start to feel it shake a bit and I start to hear the grinding, clicking from the bone on bone. So what I've got to do is kind of go right above that point and create tension around the joint, make sure my big toe is on the ground. Like you really get in touch with the mind muscle connection, the joint positioning side of things. And again, I like if a set is too fast, I can't properly go through the range of the motion I need and pause and hold to gain the stability I need. So longer sets really unlock muscle activation. They unlock your ability to tension around the joint, because that's a big part of this. Is at that point too, I can start to see what happens is the big toe isn't making enough contact. My knee goes out to the side, and now my patella is shifting out to the side. And that's what's causing that pain. And that's what's also inactivating that lower quad muscle. So I challenge you to, this is one of our principles too, cut the load in half and double the time under tension. And again, maybe not all sets, but at least as one of the sets in your workout, because again, that unlocks a lot of muscle gain. And it's the key to keeping those joints healthy if you want to push heavy and hard. Trust me on that. One of my favorite training templates is 2 minutes on, 30 seconds off. And you can apply that to, let's say it's a chest and back. So you do a set, a chest or a push movement, 2 minutes, rest 30 seconds, go to back, or a pull movement. Same thing, biceps, triceps, quads, hamstrings, glutes, hip flexors, shins, calves. So you can do it in any area of the body. And again, the pumps are precious, incredible pump and burns, really, but very easy on the joints. It's very forgiving. And we know this through the research. You want to get super strong, you've got to go pretty high intensity, and you've got to push heavy loads. Look, that's always the case. But muscle gain wise, the research shows as long as you're fully exhausting the fiber and pushing pretty close to failure, not necessarily technical where your form goes, but like right close to that point, or you get enough volume on that area, similar muscle gain. You can look at the research. You'll be stronger if you use heavy loads, but I'd almost make it last like Keith Sweat. Make it last. Let's say I'll do a 5-rep set. Now I can do 15 to 20 dips fast, but I can also make 5-rep sets harder. Like the 5-rep sets I do on dips are harder than the 20-rep sets I do, because I start at the top. I lower incrementally, slowly, as slow as I can. I feel like there's a point where one arm is going higher than the other. I try to correct it, tension around it. I keep going, then I get all the way down, and I'm holding that. And then I'm basically I'm trying to make those 5 reps as challenging as possible to my body, because to the joint, 5 reps is less damaging than 20. 20 reps fast, that's a lot on the joint, because it's a ballistic. You're depending on the connective tissues to provide the elasticity to get you up and down. But I can eliminate the joint contribution, which is like, is that a bad thing? No, what it means is we're not stressing the joints. This is all muscle work. It's humbling, it's really challenging. And by the way, I'll do 1-rep sets. How long can I make this 1-rep set last? So what that might mean on a pull-up, for example, which I love 1-rep sets on pull-ups because it really is easy on the elbows. I just have to do 1 rep. And I can get a pump that I used to take, I have to do max rep sets or sets of 10 or more, wild, out of control form just to do it. Because all I do in that set is I raise as slow as possible. I'm literally I'm sitting into the lats and I'm just pull, and as long as I can go to get to the top, then I hold the top for as long as I can, then I take as long as I can coming down. And a lot of times, I'll talk about this in the hangs program we do, I will hang for as long as I can. When I got about 5 or more seconds left on the bar, I'll do a single pull-up, which ends up feeling like a max, like as if I had a 100-pound weight vest doing a single pull-up. So you find intelligent ways to keep challenging the muscles at least just as hard as you used to, if not more than ever. Frankly, you've never experienced pumps and activations like this, but with less joint stress. And I'm putting less volume or just overall stress into the joint. So this stuff makes a huge difference, whether it's something you use all the time or just a couple sets on a 5-rep set, or on a day where you're wound down. I'm gonna go more joint than strength training, right? But those timed retentions are great. Again, I'm a huge fan of 2-minute sets. You really find out the mental strengthening is off the charts too, but you can really connect with the joint, the muscles involved. 7, stay ahead of the recovery curve. Nothing's worse than, like, let's say it was inflamed on Monday. And here's an example I'll give, because I have contacts, and every once in a while, because it's just tough. You try to clean your hands, but occasionally you get some stuff in the eye, you can get pink eye. But it sucks. Like for me, with the contacts, like give me a lot of definition, and I do all this like computer screen work and writing, typing, reading, and I get headaches without the contacts. I'm gonna get glasses now just in case I get another pink eye outbreak. But you wake up one day and it's like, okay, I think it looks okay. But I probably should rest it another day. And even a day, I should give it a day after the day. I should have at least a couple days where like the eye is totally white. All right. And then wait a couple days, and then I put the contacts back in. So I know it's like, otherwise, like now this is going to become like a pink eye thing I deal with for maybe 3 to 5 plus days, even a week or two. Same thing with the joint, right? You see, there's a little inflammation. I think I could train today, or I could just say, let me give it a couple more days so it's totally gone, and then a couple additional days off after that, so that I've had multiple days of no inflammation before reintroducing, the movements or stuff that you had to cut out for a while. And then with that too, you've got to just commit to, people say the discipline to work, no, the discipline to rest. If you're that type of person, there's some people that like will always look for an excuse not to exercise or not to eat right or not to do work. But if you are on this channel, chances are you're like me, you're a working breed. You need it, you love to work. And you feel like guilty when you don't. And you're also a creature of habit, routine, and you don't want to break the routine and the habits. I get all of that. And that's why like the workarounds are so important. But you got to have the discipline to say there's one day a week I'm not doing anything. And if anything I'm doing, it is so low impactful and low stress. But even then, like those like 0 days, they really go a long way to managing inflammation and pain. And also, with that too, that's the next point I wanted to talk about, because I would describe staying ahead of the recovery curve as, even if you know you can do it, get in the habit of, for an area where there's problems, give it an extra day or two. Because that's the thing too about this, like arthritis over 40, like I used to be able to clear the inflammation like a day or two. And now I'm looking at like, it's at least 2 weeks if I'm being honest. And to start the year, it was a full month before I get the inflammation out of the joint. So your recovery is just not great. It's not like, we're not rebuilding and repairing as fast as we used to. And there's nothing you can do about it. We're all dying, right? This is just what it is. So you've got to be more active with load management and just be proactive. And when it's a close call, give it an extra day of rest and do something else that's not going to bother the area. And that's where number 8 is so critical, is customizing your training schedule and split to accommodate the issue, right? So the issue with rehabilitation or corrective stuff like this requires a lot of focus, and there's a lot of warming up, cooling down, stuff like that. So you might consider, okay, I've got a shoulder issue. So I'm going to alternate, my training split is, let's say I do want to do 6 days a week. I'm going to alternate a day of just really focusing on my shoulder and then a day of everything else. And then I'm just going to cycle that throughout the week. And then while my shoulder gets a rest day, I'm working the rest of my body and vice versa. So I can maintain my other movements, and I can give my shoulder a full focus in that session. Doing the massage, the mobility, the proper warming up, the number of movements I need to do to address all the issues around the shoulder, my band pull aparts, my scapular presses, all the stuff that you maybe wouldn't fit time for in a full body workout. So again, isolation is great. By the way, a lot of these isolation workouts, they tend to be easier to recover from, right? Because they're like a full body Metcon, that exhausts you. Very hard to recover from. And also very tough to do when you're dealing with inflammation, because it can inflame the body. So, but with that too, one of my schedules I like right now is kind of flowing between an upper lower core schedule. And the upper might be, like full upper body where you get arms, shoulders, chest, back, or maybe I'm gonna do more chest, back, arms, shoulders one day. Lower, for me, my lower is gonna be mostly knee. That's what it is right now. And again, it's specific to my needs. And then core is just, it's the whole midsection of the body, a lot of the smaller muscles, spinal health, all that stuff. And again, there's built-in recovery on those days. The core days never bother my knee. So what I know too, if I plan to do legs today, but my knee is talking to me and it's inflamed, I can't push through that. It's going to make it worse. So I'm just going to flip it. I'll go core today. Upper also, by the way, barely ever bothers my knees. I can also do all my upper body exercises seated. So again, you start to find ways to just work around. And then again, like in the past, you start, you're in pain, you get depressed, you get upset, you start to act like a little kid. And no, I'll just go right to doing upper core today. Or I'll do the low impact cardio exercise I know I can do that doesn't inflame the knee. Just you move on. Why cry over spilt milk? It's already spilt. So that's important. So you gotta customize the schedule. You gotta plan things out, but also understand too, sometimes you gotta push things back a day. Sometimes you gotta flip days, because you wake up and in the morning, by the way, that's where the inflammation tends to be the highest. So you don't know. Sometimes you don't really know until you wake up the next day. So number 9, diet. I've got a list here of, the foods to add. Fruits and vegetables. The ones you want to focus on the most are the most antioxidant rich. Greens are key. Berries, phenomenal. Cherries, pineapple. Also orange juice, high in vitamin C, very important for anti-inflammation. And then there's things like collagen or bone broths, which, by the way, are maximally absorbed with vitamin C. So you want to make sure if your vitamin C intake isn't high enough, you actually might not absorb collagen in the way you want, not just for the joints, the skin, hair, nails, all that stuff. I notice my skin, hair looks better when I take collagen, whether you throw it in your protein shake, or again, bone broths are great to do around dinner because it actually helps with digestion, and whether you have it before or after dinner. After dinner digestion, before dinner, it's a little like a chef snack while you're making food, kind of curb that hunger and take the edge off. What else we got here? Omega-3s, high omega-3 content, very anti-inflammatory. Fatty fish like salmon and sardines. I know, most people don't like that stuff. But the simple thing I like to do is organic chia seed, which, by the way, I put 4 scoops in every one of my midday shake, 16 grams of fiber, loaded with omega-3s, also has a good amount of protein as well. And that's kind of my daily anti-inflammatory investment, plus the fiber side, digestive health. That's key. So those are foods you want to incorporate on a regular basis to decrease inflammation. Now, what foods cause inflammation? Processed meats, snacks, foods high in kind of omega-6 rich seed oils. That's why when as much as possible, I try to get chips with avocado oil or coconut oil or olive oil. Those are much better. Olive oil, by the way, antioxidant rich oil, so good for, people put it on their skin, but it's also good for your joints, your heart. It's a cheap those cheaper seed oils, not that you have to avoid them altogether, but like limit those to maybe 1 day a week. Anything that's like you're having every day, make sure it's the oils you use are olive, avocado, coconut. Those three oils are winners. And you can cook your vegetables and your meats in them, and they will support your joint health, your overall heart health, your overall health, period. More mono unsaturated based. With coconut oil, it's actually also medium chain triglycerides, so it tends to be good for promoting energy and that type of thing as well. Fried foods, once a week. Unless like you're cooking food in a pan at low, you can cook food in a pan. I guess you're frying it, I guess, when you're cooking with avocado oil. But you can do that at high heat, medium heat. Coconut oil and avocado, high heat. Olive oil, medium heat. That's fine. But like I'm talking like deep fried, breaded stuff. That's always is gonna leave me feeling like achy the next day, or the joints just not gonna feel good, or it's gonna be inflamed. Limit saturated fats. So maybe more of a fillet cut versus a ribeye cut. Again, you still need good saturated fat in your diet, like the yolk in an egg or the natural fats in meats if you're an animal-based eater. You just want to make sure it's not excessive, right? So and portions come in handy too. I used to eat huge steaks, and occasionally I'll treat myself to like a 24-ounce porterhouse, but lately Uncle Baby Biscuits at this tender age, that 8 to 10 ounce cut is where I need to sit, maybe 12 tops. Not just mainly because of the cost, but also that's sitting better with this older body at a leaner weight. So that's important as well. Artificial sweeteners, got to be careful on those. And then also like alcohol, refined grains, and added sugars. Try to make sure 6 days a week you're not eating any foods with added sugar. Natural sugars in fruits, vegetables, whole foods, that's going to happen. That's fine. But anytime a food has to add sugar to it, that to me is a once a week food, especially if you're dealing with inflammation and you're over 40 years old. Those days are behind us, and it's just a bad habit. It's not helping you. If it's not helping you, why are we doing it at this point? It's hard enough as it is. We got less energy, less motivation. Let's make it easy on ourselves. When you're younger, you have more energy and time to exercise to offset as best you can. You can't, but you try. Bad diet choices, lifestyle choices. But at this over 40, there's just no way it's going to happen. It's just not. And it's great, by the way, because it means I don't have to exercise as much and stress my body out as much, which causes inflammation in the first place. That's on the dietary piece. Recovery piece, I'm going to finish off with. So we've got heat. Heat is before every workout, okay? And then particularly to start every day. Heat. You got to heat areas. You'll wake up with pain. That's the most painful times, most inflamed times are in the morning. And you've got to get blood flowing to the area. You got to loosen that up, and you got to, just get some comfort, especially if you train early in the morning. So adding heat is critical. Heating pads, they've got wearable heating devices for the joints from Hyperice, critical. Cold, whether it's cold tubs, baths, cold pool, or actual ice. And the ice thing is interesting because there's been people I respect that say like don't ice because it can blunt your body's inflammatory repair. Here's the thing. I've seen those same people then advocate jumping into a cold bath. So how come you can jump into a cold bath but you can't ice? And the reality is, anytime I ice, not only does it decrease pain, it decreases inflammation. So to me, it's just like it's a staple. It's cheap. It's simple. It's something I always do. I always ice my knees after I exercise, and I always ice my knees the morning, typically the morning after a tough session, because I'm trying to stay ahead of the inflammation. But don't ice before. You heat before. And then, by the way, I've heard people advocate contrast therapy, which is where I love that. That's like 3 to 5 minutes hot, 3 to 5 minutes cold. Whether you're going from hot tub to cold tub or your ice pack to heating pack. And I like both. But the great thing about that is it's research proven to actually heal the tissue. So I love that, and that's a great thing to do at night. Like you're watching TV, I'll do a little contrast session, or maybe right after your workout, you can do like a quick hot tub, cold tub. One of my favorite workouts, especially when it gets like colder here, because we run the hot tub in the fall and winter. I'll do 2 minutes hot tub, and then because we don't heat our pool, it's cold as fuck. I'll do 2 minutes cold, 30 seconds between. And it just flushes blood up and down the body. And I can do activities, more stretching in the hot tub, more strength cardio in the pool. It's a great workout. And no matter what's going on in my life, no matter how inflamed or stressed I am, I always feel better when I'm done. I don't have to get up for that session. So, that's pretty important too. So contrast is great. Compression. And this is where, especially when we actually have bouts of inflammation, if it's inflamed, I consider like for something like a knee sleeve or an elbow sleeve, I'll actually put on a knee sleeve to go to sleep so that it's managing inflammation overnight, and I'll wake up with less inflammation in the morning. And then you can wear it during your day. Just again, that compression is just going to help stimulate movement and prevent just the congestion of fluid inflammation in the area. And then maybe you want to wear compression pants or tights under your work clothes or during training. That's another thing you can do. I always try to wear them as much as I can when I travel because I've noticed that helps in terms of just being seated a long time. I also am a big fan of the Normatex, which are air-derived compression. I've got it set up over there on my couch on a ramp. It was originally, by the way, a sex ramp. It was a sex ramp in my 20s. Now it's a arthritis, inflammation management in my 40s. I still use it for both, but it's just, life is funny that way. But I love combining compression with elevation, whether I'm on a ramp or I put my legs up against the wall to drain my legs, or inverting upside down. That's the best way, because now full gravity is pushing that fluid to the heart so it can get pumped out of the body. Compression, whether it's between and or during your workout, helps a ton. And again, anything in the water is automatic compression, by the way. That's why it's so valuable for recovery and managing pain, inflammation, arthritis. I mentioned the elevation. It's a simple thing to do to start or end your day. Just get up against the wall, put your legs there, whether you have arthritis or not. It's basically just going to take all that fluid edema you had during the day, pump it out, and get new blood when you stand back up. It's also nice for the lower back health. And you can, sometimes I'll edit video in that position. Beyond that, I think the final thing is like topical. The only thing that I found that helps is CBD, whether it's the salves or the oil. I truly, like, not only with pain management, but also I just, anytime I put it on or I'm having inflammation bout, it helps the inflammation get out faster, in my opinion. We used to sell it, we don't anymore. It was called Man Baby CBD, but some people can find it, some people can't. But I just mentioned that, like, topically, I've actually found that they can really help with the inflammation and the pain. So those are the 10 things. Let me see, we had a lot of things come through. Let me see if I can get some questions here going. So let me go through the questions quick, then we'll close it out. I hope you guys like this episode. Lindsay says, do TDBJ members have access to the pull-up program, or is it only via YouTube membership? So that's going to be a YouTube member exclusive. I'm going to continue the new follow-along workouts and stuff will continue to come through the Daily BJ for the rest of the year before we close that out. And it's only going to be a YouTube option subscription-wise. So that's that answer there. Opinion on intermittent fasting. I love it for the reasons of learning how to get more disciplined about your diet, knowing the difference between being hungry and wanting to eat. I always want to eat, but I'm not always hungry. Knowing whether it's actually more thirst than hunger, because it can be, the mind and body can trick you with that. But also I like it from the standpoint of, like, it's an easy thing to do. Like I said, my plan, I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, my protein powder, my athletic greens. Midday, I have a protein shake that I make that has, like, fruit and other, chia seed and other superfoods. And then I have a protein and produce meal at night. it's a very simple lifestyle. I don't have to eat a lot. I can be more productive. Eating tends to make me sluggish, especially solids. And I also feel like it helps me have a very flexible metabolism. My body is very good at using both carbohydrate and dietary and stored fat for fuel. It really, I believe it really helps with staying lean year round. And then, just not getting in the habit of just like putting stuff in your mouth all day. Having a discipline, like, no, I'm not eating until a certain time. Though again, where I don't like it is just like, I have to be in this 8-hour window or 12-hour window. That gets kind of OCD-ish, and I feel like then you can have anxiety around food and like obsessive behaviors. It's not healthy that way. But like, and technically, it's also not. It's like a modified fast because I feel like I need a little more protein in my diet, and but it's just protein and micronutrition in the greens in the morning and coffee. It's essentially a modified fast. So I'm a fan of it. I don't think you have to be obsessive about the timing and windows as much. And I think it's all about just structuring to make it work for you. Let me see here. Nova Kirsch, check out my Bulletproof Knees program. He's asking for recommendations for a knee repair. I also have a lot of water. Like I've got a video coming up soon about squatting and lower body work in the water. Critical, because again, like for example, some of the movements that are causing the pain inflammation, single leg squat style on land, I actually can do in the water without pain because I get compression from the water and it's unloading my body weight, which is telling me it's actually, it's my body mass that's the issue, because the joint can go through this as long as I reduce the weight enough. The thing with your body weight, unlike a weight stack, you have to be more intelligent about or knowledgeable about how to reduce your body weight or do self-assisted stuff. So, but check out, just search Bulletproof Knees and you'll find it. It's an incredible program. I'm just looking here. Just trying to see what else we got here. Pizza Science, you're damn right it was. I discovered that my father has a Grinder app. How will I confront him with this? This is the wrong channel for that, but I wish you the best. Greetings from Cedar City, Utah. Do you smoke bong? You seem like the kind of guy. I'm an edible guy. I don't like to smoke. I do occasionally have a cigar. I've had 2 cigars in my life. I tend to do it as kind of because I keep the case, and it's like it helps me remember a special occasion, like my wife's 40th birthday. I had a cigar, but I don't drink. I've never drank alcohol in my life. I never will, because of alcoholism in my family. And I've had 2 cigars in my life, only special occasions, and I like edibles. So foods and drinks that help with inflammation. I touched on that already. Also, tart cherry is supposed to be good. You can get tart cherry concentrated like a place like Whole Foods, put it in your shakes. Scoliosis. So there's a limit to how I can recommend on something like scoliosis, because so now that I'm a fitness guy. I'm not a doctor, chiropractic or physical therapist. So scope of practice, I have to be limited. I can only really give general guidelines there, and you always have to default to those guys and gals. That being said, I would really check out my inversion video I just posted. So good for lower back health. We also have people talk about sciatica, foam rolling and stretching the glute, the piriformis stretch, if you will. I've got that here. I'll post that in the links to that poll page as well. And but really, what you want to do there is you want to really work on massaging the glute, the spine, kind of a separate video topic, but we've done stuff like this on that channel. I just got to get those links to you. What else we got? But also, like, don't do too much spinal bearing work. That's why I like split stance work, single leg work. You can really work the muscles hard without putting weight on the back. Planks and bridges are critical to help strengthen, to help stabilize the spine and strengthen the glutes and hamstrings. That's also a big part of it as well. Working on spinal stabilization and avoiding direct spinal bearing will help a ton too. Does intermittent fasting help with inflammation? It actually can. That's the belief. What people propagate is that it can help like heal and repair the body. But I look at it, I think the biggest advantage is it helps you actually get fuller when you eat, so that you get used to reducing your portion sizes, which is critical. And it really helps with blood sugar management, which means that less carbohydrate goes a longer way. Your body is better at pushing the carbohydrate to being used for exercise fuel versus being stored as fat. When people get insulin resistant, it's the exact opposite. And like anything you eat almost gets turned to fat instantly. And that's why a lot of people are actually having to go the Ozempic route, because they're so far gone in terms of body fat accumulation and insulin resistance. But any style of fasting, or really just, by the way, it can also just be like spacing. Instead of eating every 3 hours, make it every 6 hours. Keeping more space between your meals also helps with giving you some of those benefits of fasting. All right, guys, concluding here, hope it helps. The 28-day Hangs Challenge for VIP members coming November 2nd. Click the join button or click the link in the description to learn more about our 3-tiered membership. It'll only be for the VIPs. This is going to be incredible. This challenge, I promise you, this challenge will be transformative. You'll be able to take skills and add to your movement database for the rest of your life with this plan, and it'll feed your aesthetic goals, your performance goals, and your overall health goals. Our YouTube memberships officially launched 9/1, but they're open now. You can check out the perks that come with that, whether it's early access, exclusive live streams, or again ad-free members-only content, training plans, etc. We'd love your support, and we need it. Everything will continue here for free with ads as normal, but we're going to take this challenge to a whole new level for those that want to go deeper and are looking for more. I'm here for that. Also, if you want to check out our protein powder and coffee, link in description. High quality stuff. If you can't afford it, I get it, but people ask, and I only promote. I do get a cut, but I only promote stuff I believe in and that I would use. So otherwise, like, share, subscribe. I hope this helps, and I wish you guys a beautiful day. Peace. And by the way, thanks. Someone donated $2. Much appreciated. Thank you.